Yeah, that's impressive that boot is in that shape after that fucking long. Yeah, it is. Like, I saw his boots when he and I went pow surfing. I'm like, we have to do an episode on this.
Yeah.
All right, welcome to the Riders Lounge. I'm Shane Johnson, and today we grab Morrison from behind the camera because he has the real data on an insane amount of days on a pair of VANS Infuse. Here we go. All right, so Morrison, let's start. How many days do you think you have on these?
150 to 180 at the moment.
Wow, yeah, so the birch colorway was, yeah, that was
Last
not
year.
this season, yeah, the season before. And Mark is in the field all the time, so he's holding cameras for us, he's shooting. He also is probably one of our best free riders. He's out with Worm all the time, bagging peaks, doing a lot of crazy shit. And this is your boot of choice, probably what, 90% of the time, unless you're testing gear?
90, 95.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because you've tested a few, but you always go back to this.
Yeah, I have extra boots. I have another pair or two at home, but I just keep going back to these guys because they're great.
So the V3 liner, we've always found, like, as a consumer, you're going to go into a shop, you're going to try on a ton of boots. The VANS V3 liner is heat moldable, but when you get into this thing, even like right in the store, like these fit real nice. They've got a layer of cush to them, and once you mold them in, it's just that much better. They got how much do you think that liner grew over that 150 plus days?
Maybe like 15%, give or take.
Yeah.
Yeah, not like a little bit for sure. And I just put in some brand new insoles and then the reminds.
Good, good.
Plus, under those, I've added some foam shims just to really like lift my foot up closer to this instep here. I'm a big fan of boot modifications.
It's a necessity with anybody. Nobody's foot is the same, so we're always tweaking. I have to shim out my heels. You've done what you've done.
The whole footbed.
Yeah, but I'm really impressed. Like I brought down one of the snow surfs, which this is a really cool boot that's out this year. It's the Infuse. Just chilled out a little bit, medial lateral movement, and this one's gonna be a little bit softer, that's why it's the surf. But same liner. What's impressed me the most is this liner still has a lot of structure to it. Mark rides hard. He carves almost like Fawcett does. And this, so he's pounding into this thing. And yeah, there's, you know, it's, I guess, yeah, you've broken it down.
I haven't even put my stiffeners back in yet.
Well, that was the other thing I was going to ask you. So they all come with these guys.
Take them out right away.
Yeah.
And then when I feel it's necessary, I put them back in. I haven't gone to that point yet.
So that's, I mean, value again for a boot, that's pretty impressive then. At 150 days, you add the tongue stiffeners back in, you're going to get all that, you know, that lateral support's going to be back into the boot right away too.
Yeah, and all the wear on this boot is mostly just in this like cover over the laces. And a little bit on like the Velcro around this guy. Besides that, the boot is still like, you can hardly even tell it's been ridden.
Well, I mean, look at these, and that's like for the sledders out there too. You look at a brand new sole and then you look at Mark's sole. He's on a sled a fair bit. So that's also really impressive. So yeah, we wanted to jump on here quick and kind of give you guys an update on the Infuse. We did a review on it probably 3 years ago. We haven't talked about it since. And this really did impress me. Like I say, Mark gets out there a lot. So if you're looking for a boot where you're free riding, I mean, you're running park with that too. It really is a do-all.
A little bit of park that I do, yeah. I'm doing a lot of touring, probably 40% touring, 60% resort at this point.
Yep.
And on the note of sledding, I know a lot of people come into the shop worried about boas for sledding. I've been impressed with the past few years. They've redesigned these to, instead of break, to purposely pop out. So even I was catboarding a couple weeks ago, and there was another customer in the cat. He hopped out of the cat, and this thing popped off. I don't know if I wanted to do it right now. Popped off like that, and he was freaking out. He's like, oh no, it's like a second lap of the day. I'm screwed. I'm done. That's it. I'm like, nah, dude, you're good. You simply just grab these two. It's a little bit trickier with the laces on. And you can just pop that right back in, and you're good to go. And I've also done that on my sled a few times.
Nice, yeah.
I did it like 3 laps later, hopping out of that cat. I just bashed that, popped off. Goes back in that easy, and you're good to go.
And what are they calling that new boa again?
H4 coiler on that one.
Yeah, I think all the H4s have that pop-out feature.
Yeah.
So yeah, and it's, you know, if you're really worried, you carry a spare in your backpack. But like Mark said, it's a rarity now, and the ease of getting that thing back in there is pretty impressive.
It makes it easier for us in the shop because I don't know how many. I mean, I'm the boa guy in the shop. I have to fix all the boas, but this makes it easy when every second person that comes in for a boa fix, I can just slap it back in front of them and they're good to go instead of actually having to put time into repairing it.
Yeah. And like Mark said too, he's touring in this boot, and the nice thing about laces is you can articulate as needed. So on the way up, you can keep the upper nice and loose, so you've got that actuation while you're touring, and then when it's time to shred, you know, you do everything back up super tight, get your lacing dialed, and always less issues with laces.
Yeah, when I'm walking uphill, this is about as loose as it can go, and the laces are about as loose as they can go. And boas,
nice and
I like the boa tight because it's on your instep, right? It's this little leather piece that holds you into the back of the boot. So I like to not have heel lift when I'm walking and riding. So I usually keep that boa done up when I'm hiking, but everything else loose. And then crank it down when you want to go downhill.
So in closing with this, you know, if you want one of the most versatile boots I think that we sell in the shop and a lot of value for the money, VANS Infuse. Yeah.
I found my favorite.
Definitely. And probably, what, 60% of our team upstairs is riding this boot. So, yeah, a lot of the crew's on it, guys and gals. So definitely this is a contender if you're shopping high-end boots, no question. Thanks again for hanging out with us, guys. Really appreciate it. For all those that subscribed, thank you. For all those that haven't, just hit that subscribe button. It's super easy. Helps us keep this show going. The other thing we have is the Patreon. I keep wanting to mention to people we can definitely answer your questions on YouTube, but we can only do about that much of a paragraph because we're busy and things like that. Where the Patreon members, we spend a lot more time on that, and that's where you'll get, you know, myself, Fawcett, or Morrison. We can deep dive with you and figure out specifics. If you want to know what the best binding is for this boot, we can talk about it. Which board that binding should be on. Things that are specific to you, we can get into that on Patreon. So again, thanks for hanging out. Finally got Morrison on another episode with us. You'll be seeing him again soon, and we'll catch you on the next one.